Regrinding shit kind of sucks, to be totally honest, okay? So, I get this question a fair bit, and I've seen it asked a fair bit in different Discord servers and everything, so I'm being joined by my cat again, don't worry about that. But right now, what I'm talking about is the unique upgrades for all of the destroyers. There's 10 of them available right now. I'm going to look at each ones and I'm going to give my thoughts on them, what they do, and which ones you should get and which ones you can wait on or just shouldn't get. So, when we're going to have five different tiers here. And they're pretty self-explanatory. We have up at the top, we have S tier, which are the ones that you should absolutely get. If you're going to get any of them, get these ones before all else. A tier is pretty good. Uh, they're very strong in a number of situations, a number of different builds, and in different scenarios, but they're not perfect. There are like a flaw or two with them. So A tier is pretty good. B tier is sort of like your middle ground. You can choose to run it, you can choose not to, but either one is fine. It's not required to make the ship good or make it work. C tier is for ones that have a pretty niche use case, which as you can see is usually in a comp like clan battles and King of the Sea, and maybe in ranked depending on what you're doing, or maybe in a div, but usually it's in clan battles or King of the Sea. And then D tier is just like literally everything else. These are ones that are the ones I do not recommend getting. You can if you want, but I don't recommend it. So there's 10 available right now, and we are going to start off with, I think this is the Khabarovsk one. A few of these have similar ones, but this one right here is the Khabarovsk. What this one does is it gives you extra range and it gives you a little bit of a reload buff, and at the cost of that, it dings the action time of your consumables. So you get, I think, like plus 14 or plus 16% to your range or something like that. You get 6% main battery reload boost. Not that big, but I mean, it's something. And then your consumables last, I think, 20 or 30% shorter. I don't remember the exact numbers, but those are the effects. And this upgrade will mount in slot 5. And this one is a little bit of a polarizing one. This is an unpopular opinion, but I honestly don't think that it's required to make the most out of the Khabarovsk. It's definitely nice, but the fact that it mounts at slot 5, it mega oofs to your rudder because Khabarovsk's rudder was nerfed in I think like 2016 or something, and it has like a 20-second rudder shift or something like really absurd like that, and it turns worse than some battleships. So you take a massive oof to your rudder because you can't double rudder because this thing went to slot 5, and you speed boost less and you heal less because it also dings the action time to your consumables. But you do gain a DPM boost and you get extra range, which in a sense kind of does the job of the double rudder since you'll be further away. Uh, you'll have more time to dodge shells, especially if you run incoming fire alert. So you can run it, but I personally don't. There's merit to running it, uh, and I'm gonna put it up in B. It's up to preference. You can choose to run it. I personally don't, but there is merit to using it. I know I kind of shed on it a little bit here, I personally don't use the extra range of it, like, at all. I typically play around like 12 to 13 kilometers anyway, give or take, and I just don't get value out of it, but I can see the merit in using it, so B tier for the Khabarovsk. Next up is Z52. I think this one I know it's slot 5. Uh, I think it's half of the normal concealment module, so it's minus 5% to your concealment. So in slot 5, instead of mounting concealment, if you mount this thing, you'll only get minus 5 instead of minus 10. And uh, you get a boost to your torpedo detection, I think, and your torpedo reload. So you basically are trading 5% of your concealment. So I think there's like a 6.4 or 6.3 kilometer detection on the Z52. And you gain some torpedo stealth and torpedo reload. So if you want to fully build into your torpedoes, this is an option. But honestly, I don't recommend it. Z52 torpedoes, they don't do a lot of damage. They were the original low damage torpedo meme before the European destroyers came out. Uh, they're not very fast, I don't believe. I mean, I think they're like reasonable, but they're not particularly outstanding. They don't hit very hard. They don't have a lot of range. 10.5 kilometers is not a lot for tier 10. So, building into torpedoes on a ship that's not a Shimakaze or a Gearing is not really very good. You don't have a lot of damage on your torpedoes. It doesn't address the low damage. It doesn't address the relatively low speed. All it does is it gives you a little bit of stealth and a little bit of reload, which doesn't really matter a whole lot. And you also give up concealment. So I don't like it. It's gonna go in D tier. You could run it, but I just wouldn't recommend it. So, moving on. Shimakaze is one of my favorite upgrades for all of the destroyers. What it does is it gives you, I think, a 20%, or no, it's a 25% boost to your torpedo reload as opposed to the standard torpedo module in slot 6 being 15%. So you get an extra 10% on your reload mounting this thing compared to the standard. And to penalize you a little bit, it kind of whacks your torpedo turret traverse. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but it used to be, when it first came out, it used to be minus 80% to your torpedo or to your torpedo traverse. And it had, like, I think a 38 or 40-second torpedo 180-degree turn time or something really absurd like that. And it wasn't amazing. It's I mean, it was usable back then, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as widespread accepted as being just universally good or just a flat out straight upgrade in most cases. It's gotten buffed. It went from like minus 80 to I think like minus 70. I think I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like that. Uh, and it also has the plus 50% chance to your torpedo tubes getting incapacitated. That doesn't really matter because it would still be there if you mount the slot 6 upgrade, the standard one anyway. Both that and this thing have that penalty, and you can also negate it somewhat by running preventative maintenance on your captain, and you can run torpedo modification 1 in slot 3. So it's not that big of a deal. I honestly think that this is one of the best upgrades that you can possibly get. If you like Shimakaze, you will benefit from this upgrade. Even with the F3s, you can get the torpedo reload down to 88 seconds with F3s and this module and a full torpedo build, which is very powerful in especially ranked, where things tend to be pretty close due to the cap layouts and the map sizes. And just the smaller team sizes as well. Things tend to get pretty hairy pretty quickly. So having your torpedoes just be able to consistently reload faster all of the time is very valuable for a torpedo boat like the Shimakaze, and I think this is one of the best upgrades that you can possibly get. So S tier for Shima. Next up, gearing. I think this one is. A few of these have similar icons, but this one is gearing. Yeah, this one is gearing. Uh, what this one does is it mounts in slot 5 and it gives you an extra 5% to your concealment. So I think it's 15% concealment bonus as opposed to the standard 10 in slot 5. So you're getting extra concealment, but you're paying for it by plus 15% to your main battery reload and plus 5% to your torpedo reload. So basically, you gain concealment at the cost of DPM, which in competitive, especially, this is an absolute must-have. If you are playing a gearing and you have an enemy gearing and you're both reversing into a cap and you have this upgrade and he doesn't, he is just fucked because he cannot outspot you. He doesn't tie your concealment because you have this upgrade and he doesn't. So you will always outspot another gearing and he will be objectively fucked unless he has some kind of radar support. So, and that will also depend on the map, what restrictions are in place, what team comp he has, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. So, this is one of the best upgrades that you can get for a competitive setting, and also in a div setting, this is pretty good. But if you're playing gearing solo, 5.6 kilometer concealment is what you get with this thing. And without it, you have 5.8 kilometers. So the choice of whether or not you think that DPM oof is worth that extra concealment, it absolutely will come into play, and you will get value out of it no matter what, because you become one of the stealthiest destroyers at the tier, but you pay for it by having a little bit less DPM. So if you're playing solo in randoms, where DPM is typically weighed a little bit more, just because you can't really rely on your team, unless you're in a div, of course. Whether or not you want to give up that reload and that DPM is up to you, but despite that, no matter if you choose to run it or not, if you do run it, it is so incredibly powerful having that concealment that it is, first of all, like I mentioned before, it's an absolute must for competitive, and it's pretty good anywhere else. So I will put this one in A tier. It's pretty good. Not perfect, but it's really, really good. So, moving on. Grozovoi. This one is, I'm just going to spoil it right now, not good. D tier, baby. What this one does is it gives you an 18% bonus to your main battery reload. But at the cost of that, you get -7 to your turret traverse, so your turrets turn a little bit slower, but you get plus 20% to your torpedo reload, which is really, really rough. It is not really a trade-off that I think is worth it in really any scenario. It used to not be like that. It used to be like just a straight upgrade. It used to only have the turret traverse penalty, and that was it. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that torpedo penalty always being there. But now that Grozovoi has 12-kilometer torpedoes, especially that was buffed a little while ago. Uh, I don't think that that trade-off is worth it. Really, the only time you'll use this is if you're doing like a full 110% monkey farm uh, build. That is really the only time you might use it. But even then, I think you'll be better off with the standard reload module, because then you'll still be able to spam torps down range, because they have 12 kilometers range now. So Grozovoi is going to go in D tier. Mounts in slot 6, by the way. So there you go. Next up, Yueyang. Uh, this one is an interesting one. It mounts in slot 5, and it gives you a 15% DPM boost. So 15% boost to your main battery, plus 30% to your smokescreen dispersion time, and I think like plus 15 or 20% to your radar action time. And I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Basically, what it does is it enhances your DPM and it enhances your two key consumables, which is your radar and your smoke. No matter which one you build into, you can only mount one, by the way, in case you didn't know. You can only mount one between the smoke or the radar, so you have to choose. But no matter which one you choose, this one will still have a use. With the unique upgrade, your smoke screen is very good. If you build fully into your smoke cooldown and your smoke duration, you can get your smoke downtime to I think like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It used to be as low as 6 seconds in like I think 2 Commander reworks ago. But basically, this upgrade lets you get your smoke downtime. So, but when the last puff of smoke dissipates, the amount of time you have to wait before your smoke generator is ready to go is still extremely low. I think it's like literally the lowest downtime for all of the tier 10 destroyers. I think it's like 12 or like 15 seconds or something like that. It's somewhere around there. It's gotten a bit nerfed by Commander reworks. It used to be as low as 6 seconds, but now it's like I think 12 or 15 seconds, something like that. So, and also, if you choose to build into your radar, you get bonus action time to your consumables, to your radar specifically, plus 15% to your radar action time, and you also get that 15% DPM boost, which, by the way, you'll get that no matter what you build into. It's built into the upgrade, and it doesn't matter if you mount smoke or not. You'll get that DPM boost no matter what. So, if you build Yueyang fully into guns, I'm talking Fearless Brawler, basic firing training, reload mod in slot 6, because this thing mounts in slot 5. If you build fully into guns, you can get, I think, like a 2.8 second reload on your main battery, and that's before you account for any bonuses you get from Adrenaline Rush. So basically, this thing kind of turns you into a discount Smoland, almost. So it's really, really good. Uh, if you build into the radar, you'll still have stealth radar because your detection will be 6.5 kilometers, assuming you get concealment expert. If you don't build concealment expert and you go into fearless brawler, or you just don't mount concealment expert, your concealment will be 7.2 kilometers, which will still give you a stealth radar because you have a 7.5 kilometer range on the radar. So this thing, no matter what you build into, it gives you a lot of versatility in your smoke and how you use it. You can use it for yourself to farm, you can use it for your team or your division, and if you build into the radar, you basically become a discount Smoland. So, really, really good upgrade. You do have to give up concealment for it, which is a little unfortunate if you mount smoke, which means you can't outspot a lot of the destroyers you're going to be coming up against. So that is a downside, and that's something to keep in mind. but your smoke obviously will help you offset that difference somewhat. It won't help you spot them, but it will help you at least hide from them. So it's not perfect, but it's still really freaking good. So I'm going to put it up here in A tier. Next up is Daring. This one mounts in slot 5 and it only has 2 effects. You get plus 15% to your torpedo damage. So the actual just straight up alpha damage of your torpedoes is higher. And you also get 10% off to your torpedo reload, which Daring is not really a torpedo boat, right? It 10-kilometer range. I mean, it can straight line its torpedoes that has like the single launch gimmick, but it's typically not a torpedo boat. And one of its greatest strengths is that it has such gun power at a 6-kilometer detection range that you could literally just walk at another destroyer, spot it with your face, and then just dumpster it. I mean, you're not going to dumpster every destroyer, like a Smolensk, Marceau, Kleber, Ragnar. Ships like that are going to prove problematic. But you have your smoke screen, obviously, which can help against some of them that don't have radar. But it's a gunboat before a torpedo boat. So really, the main use case that you're going to have with this thing is if you're playing a cap contest daring on a relatively large open map, or if there's like a lot of island cover nearby in a competitive setting. So think B cap on North in King of the Sea, right? It's right in the middle of the map. There's like that there's islands to either side. You have a bunch of islands that cruisers can hide behind to support you, or that you can duck behind if you get radared, get outspotted, or whatever the case may be. That is really the best case scenario for this module. Because if you can bait an enemy, like say there's a Des Moines that's humping an island, right? And you're trying to contest a cap in front of it. If you can bait that Des Moines to poke out just slightly and eat a bunch of your torpedoes, this thing will help you dumpster that Des Moines very handily. So it's not absolute trash because it does have a use case, but it's a very specific one that most people are probably not going to be using it in. So in pretty much any other regard, you'll be better off taking just the regular concealment module in slot 5 as opposed to this thing. But it does have that use case in competitive where torpedoes are your main weapon anyway. So, and it's still a little bit of a preference there. You could still get away with not running it if you want, but this thing will help you dumpster, do more damage with less hits, basically. So if you hit a lucky torpedo on a destroyer or something, it'll do more damage, and that'll limit his ability even further than it already did from taking a torpedo to start with. So it's going to go in C tier. It has a use case, a very specific one, but outside of that, you're better off with something else. So, moving on. Kleber. This one, I believe, mounts in slot 6. It is a very, very interesting module, because what it does is it gives you a 20% bonus to your concealment, which, mind you, this is slot 6. So you can get the concealment module in slot 5, that's minus 10%. This one is minus 20%. So you have a 30% reduction in your concealment, and that's also before you account for the concealment expert captain skill. So with this module, Kleber's concealment can get down to 6.2 kilometers, which is extremely powerful on a ship that can do 55 knots. But at a cost, you get plus 80% to your main battery reload. So it almost doubles your main battery reload. So basically, this thing is really the only unique upgrade that kind of flips the entire ship on its head, and it offers you something entirely different Whereas the other ones typically will only enhance what the ship is already good at, with the exception of these two, of course. Uh, Kleber's really gives you a unique playstyle, either monkey torpedo boat, monkey YOLO torpedo boat, or once again, it sees a lot of use in competitive because a scouting platform and a rotational platform and a cap contester that can do 55 knots, that can rotate anywhere it wants to on the map extremely quickly, and it has a 6.2 kilometer conceal, which means it's extremely difficult to detect these guys without a destroyer, a friendly destroyer, babysitting that cap all of the time. Because sure, you can radar it, but radar does have gaps unless you have like three Moskvas on a cap or something, which usually is not the case. You would need like three radars to basically have a perma radar on a cap, but uh, in competitive, there's obviously less ships per team, so that's not always going to be the case. So a ship like Kleber that has a 6.2 kilometer conceal, 55 knot speed, and French saturation that can rotate very quickly anywhere on the map and put cap pressure, spotting pressure at any point, anywhere, is very, very good. But in anywhere other than that setting in competitive, where you have a team that you're coordinating with that's being able to take advantage of your spotting, of the pressure that you're applying, this is objectively worse than running a normal Kleber in randoms. I mean, you could use it in a div, but yeah, you're still better off running like a Wolfpack division, like a Kleber, small, and in like some kind of cruiser, to run like a DD pick squad or something. Uh, it does have a use case, which I've already described. It lets Kleber be a very, very mobile destroyer, and a very stealthy mobile destroyer, rather. And it gives it a lot of flexibility in that setting, unless you're running like a wolf pack. Like if you're running like two or three Klebers and a Marceau and a small engine or something like that. If you're running like an assassination squad of Klebers, you're best off running regular. But if you're running like a solo Kleber on your team, this is a very good upgrade. So it's going to go in C tier. The other use case is, as I just briefly mentioned earlier, is the full monkey YOLO rush uh, use case. So there's that too. But usually it's going to only be seen in comp. Moving on, Harugumo. This is hands down, I think, the single best unique upgrade that you can buy. It's going straight to the very top of S tier. These two are the ones that you should get before anything else. Harugumo Smoke Generator. What it does, you get an extra charge on all of your consumables. Always welcome. Uh, you get plus 30 or 40% to your smoke screen dispersion time, which makes your smoke linger longer than American smoke, which is a very, very long time. And then on top of that, it also doubles your smoke screen deployment time. So when you hit the smoke generator, the amount of time that you're laying smoke for is doubled. It goes from 20 seconds to 40 seconds. And that smoke, in addition to just being bigger, lasts longer, and you have an additional charge of it, which saves you 3 points because you don't have to spec into Superintendent. It's just a straight upgrade. It doesn't matter that it's mounted in slot 5 and you have to give up concealment for it, because in randoms, you're going to be shooting in smoke most of the time anyway, or you're going to be spotted most of the time because you're shooting anyway. So it really doesn't matter a whole lot. It's a very good upgrade for team play, no matter the setting, in randoms, divisions, ranked, clan battles, and King of the Sea especially. It sees a lot of use. It is just a straight upgrade from slot 5 for the Harugumo. It basically gives Harugumo what I think is the single best smoke generator in the game, no ifs, ands, or buts, because it's so versatile what you can do with such a big smoke that lasts for so long. You have a ton of farming ability. You have a ton of team play ability. If you spec into a Swift and Silence, which usually is only done in competitive. But even if you don't, you get a massive smoke screen that multiple people can take advantage of. The one downside is if you don't have someone spotting for you, uh, that might be problematic, but you are still a destroyer. You'll outspot pretty much any cruiser, any battleship, and any destroyers that you don't outspot or outspot you, you have the gun power to dumpster them anyway. So, and if you're playing for your team, you'll usually have a smoked up cruiser or battleship or two to back you up as well. So, it's just really, really good, and I think is the only other S tier upgrade. You absolutely, if you're going to get any upgrade, if you play Harugumo, you should use this basically. Same thing with Shima. If you play Shima, you should use this. Next up and last is Holland. This one is another interesting one. It mounts at slot 6, and what it does is it gives you an extra charge to all your consumables, which is always welcome. It improves your engine boost, it doubles the effectiveness. The normal engine boost, you get plus 8 to your top speed. With this upgrade, you get another plus 8, so you get plus 16. So it improves your engine boost, you get a bonus charge to all your consumables, and above that, you get improved healing efficiency. So you get more value out of each heal because you get a 25% boost to the efficiency of your heal, so you can heal more damage. So it's a very good upgrade. It is a straight upgrade. There are no downsides to it other than it mounts in slot 6. And because it mounts in slot 6, that means you cannot take any sort of reload modification. And that's really its only downside, is that it mounts in slot 6 and you can't mount gun or torpedo reload. But you still gain a lot of value from it regardless. And whether or not that it's worth it, the healing efficiency, the built-in superintendent, and the engine boost, whether or not that's worth it is entirely up to you. It's a very good upgrade. It has very few downsides, and you can choose to use it or you can choose not to, and neither one is really wrong. It's a good upgrade. You just lose out on a little bit of reload, and it can be used in a number of different builds, no matter what you're doing. So that's going to be it. That is all 10 of the available upgrades. And these are the ones that I think are the best. If you're going to get any of them, it should be these two. To reiterate, Harugumo and Shimakaze are absolute must-haves. If you play either of those, you should use them. Yueyang and Yueyang are very, very good. You'll definitely notice a difference using them compared to not, but there are a couple of cases where you might not want to. For instance, randoms playing random solo with the gearing, you might not benefit as much from it as opposed to having the extra reload. Khabarovsk and Holland are entirely up to you. You can't go wrong running them. You can't really go wrong not running them. It's all just a matter of preference. Daring and Kleber, I would switch these. If you're going to get either of these two, I would get the Klebers first. But these two are extremely niche. They really only are used in competitive. If you play King of the Sea or clan battles or you're interested in it, then you should definitely consider picking these two up, but I would definitely get Kleber's first. And then Grozovoi and Z52 are really the only ones that I just straight up don't recommend at all. You could make a case for the Grozovoi if you're running like a full monkey farm build, but I still think you're better off with a standard reload mod in slot 6, so that is going to be it. I hope this video was helpful. I hope that if you're looking at if you're hoping to get a unique upgrade, this has given you some insight as to which ones are good, which ones you should get, what they all do, and has helped you make a decision on whether or not you want one or which ones you want. So that is going to be it for today. This is a pretty long video, but there was a good little bit to cover. So this is all. Okay, I should have said this at the start, but this is all my opinion, okay? You are very free to disagree with anything I've said here, but just know that I have played the game for a very, very long time, and I've been playing destroyers for a very, very long time. And I've been playing in randoms, clan battles, King of the Sea, you name it. And these, in my experience, are the best and worst unique upgrades that you can get. So, on that note, that is going to be enough for today. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I will see you tomorrow.